Hey, this is Partyologic. This is the first time I'm ever doing a live video or a video where people can watch all the way through. It's been requested. I'll possibly do a podcast hopefully in the future. You will see that I'm actually not very practiced. A lot of my videos on TikTok are cut because I have a little bit of a stuttering problem, and I actually don't speak as fluent and as smooth as some people think. So you will see my true self. That's one thing people cannot say about me. They cannot say I'm unauthentic. Look at me. Like, this is what I usually look like. A couple things. One, we need to name this cow. This is my conference room at my office, and I'm a proud Iowan, so a lot of the stuff in here is an homage to Iowa. So one thing, first things first, I need ideas on what to call this cow. Female, male, I don't know. It's one of my favorite things that I have. I think because this is my first video, we need to probably talk about where I came from. Like, why did this start? Mostly started from TikTok. I am not a very political person. If you asked my husband less than 4 years ago, I didn't like to talk about politics. I didn't like to even talk about current events or history. And then the political, with Trump versus Byron, that's one of our hockey players, Trump versus Biden. That happened. And then obviously the whole pandemic made me really open my eyes to what's going on. And I got really passionate about it. And I got on TikTok because my kids were on it and I kind of wanted to see what it was all about. I certainly didn't think I would ever do videos because I thought mostly TikTok was teenagers dancing. And as I was on it, my FYP started to change with what I was watching and what I was commenting on. And I started to see things that I would never have seen anywhere else. Whether I really didn't watch mainstream media, but I wasn't really seeing it anywhere. And I liked that I was actually seeing like concrete videos of people who are actually going through these things. And so with a combination of the political climate and the pandemic, it really made me start to open my eyes, want to get more information, do some of my own research, and really get involved. And and then I started to do videos on TikTok, but it was mostly like family stuff, like goofy things or trends that I saw on TikTok. And then I did one video where it was basically me asking about HIPAA, which I really didn't know a lot of information about. I just assumed HIPAA, like a lot of people, that I did not have to disclose my medical information. And I did a video on it, and it actually went viral, like very quickly, something I had never seen before on my account. And I actually ended up turning the comments off because people weren't looking at the comments. They were just commenting. And so I kept getting the same comments and I stopped. I didn't want notifications, and I could have turned the other notifications off, but I wanted notifications on for my other videos. So I turned the comment section off, and it got up to like 850,000 views, and it probably would have gone viral or would have gone over 1 million had I not done that. But I was just tired of seeing the same comments over and over. A lot of people, the majority of people, agreed with me. Some people said I was stupid and ignorant and dumb because I didn't know what HIPAA actually meant. HIPAA, to me, like I said, nobody could know about my medical information. I didn't have to disclose it at all, and that's actually not true. From what I understand now, and some people were very kind, some people were not. And I did some more of my own research after doing the video. Basically is my medical, like my doctor, nobody can call my doctor for my medical information. But if somebody requires for me to go to a concert or on a cruise, they can ask for my medical information. And if I don't give it to them, then they can not let me patron their business or go on their cruise ship or go on into their country. I thought nobody could ask me or anybody about my medical information, and that simply isn't true. And obviously businesses can do what they want, right? And I understand that. But one of the main things that people comment on is I call myself a recovered Democrat. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a Republican. It just means that I'm no longer identify as a Democrat. I am non-binary, as somebody said. But I have been a Democrat, or mostly independent who leans left, since I could vote. I've met President Clinton and Al Gore. My mother has met Barack Obama and Clinton. I have pictures of her that I have shown on my TikTok accounts. And I thought myself a Democrat because of a lot of things that were important to me. I supported the LGBTQ community. I was pro-choice. And I was one of those Democrats that didn't do a lot of my homework. I'm not kidding. And I think there's a lot of Democrats like that. There's probably some Republicans that are like this as well. But I think there's a lot of people like me who I voted for women first because I thought it was important to have more women. I didn't care what their policies were, honestly. And I can admit that. I'm not going to lie. And then I would vote for minorities, whether they were Hispanic, Asian, African American. And then if they were like part of the LGBTQ community, because I wanted all these people represented more in our government. Again, didn't know what their policies were, didn't care. And then the pandemic and this political climate hit. And one of the things that really opened my eyes is when the left always, especially with Barack Obama, their whole platform was change. And then they put forward a white old rich dude, which they always accuse the Republicans of being white old rich dude. Republicans are full of the Republican Party is full of white old rich dudes. And I'm like, you just put forward a white old rich dude who also has been in politics for over 40 years and basically has done nothing, has done more harm for the people of color than any other president. Well, since now that he's president. And I was so like confused by the Democratic Party that they chose that candidate. Like, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, like, honestly, she's amazing. Like, they should have, and I understand people say they didn't choose her because they couldn't manipulate her. I understand all of that now, right? But in a way, and I mean, there's a lot of things we could talk about from what I've even said in the last 6 minutes. We could go off on a lot of these things. But in a way, I think it's good that this all happened. No, stick with me, because if it hadn't, I think people like me and a lot of other people that have moved away from the Democratic Party, not saying that they're Republican, but they've moved away from voting straight Democrat, their eyes have been opened now. If this hadn't happened, if Hillary had become president over Trump, or if Trump had become president over Biden, we wouldn't have known any of this. Okay, so we would have just thought that Trump, when he says false news or all the stuff that he says that, fake news, that we would just been like, oh, that's just Trump being, a douchebag. That's just Trump being an arrogant weirdo. He's an asshole. So I think that it has really opened up a lot of people's eyes, which I think is fantastic. One thing I think is really funny is whenever I say recovered Democrat, or even my first video on my TikTok account, people will say, you're a liar. You've never been a Democrat, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't care what you think. Second of all, I'm pretty sure it's public record that I'm a registered Democrat. I literally caucused for Hillary. And I did a video on my Facebook years ago on the election night, and I was crying. And stick with me. I know there's a lot of people on the right that are mad at me that I voted for Hillary and that I caucused for. Just be happy I'm here, okay? Just be happy that I've woken up, okay? I don't say I'm woke because I hate that, but I've awakened. I've woken up. I made a video crying that I was so happy, not necessarily that I voted for Hillary, because I really, again, didn't really know what she stood for, but that she was a woman. I was happy that I saw a woman's name on the ballot. And so, yeah, I think it's funny when people are like, you're a liar. You were never a Democrat. Okay. Like, I don't really care. That is my story. That is the actual truth, not an opinion. It's a fact. That's a whole other topic about facts and opinions, right? Facts are not opinions. Opinions are not fact. Your truth does not mean it's a fact. Your truth is your opinion. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, my mother is a huge Democrat, to the fact that she won't even have discussions, because whenever we go further, when I ask her, delve into some of her opinions, she just shuts down and says she doesn't want to talk about it, because she's a lot like I was and a lot of other people on the left that don't have any information to back it up. They have an opinion, but they literally have no information to back it up. And I'm ashamed that I was that same way. And that, the great thing about America is everybody can vote, whether they are well-informed or not. And I was definitely not well-informed. I do consider myself a pretty smart person. I'm well-educated, but I was not well-informed. And that's on me, right? It's on you if you're not well-informed. What I find really interesting in today's world is people expect the information to be given to them, and they don't go out and get the information. There's a lot of things that have happened in our town in the last decade, and people have all these strong opinions, but have done absolutely no research to back it up. It's super interesting to me, and it's frustrating, right? Because these people have very strong opinions, and they vote, and they have no information to back it up. So it's extremely frustrating for when you see that as an adult, right? What I find really interesting is my daughter, I pretty much raised her a Democrat. And she is a huge conservative. And I think my sons are kind of toe the line in between. I think that they are also independent. My oldest son said he's an anarchist, and I don't even know if he really knows what that means. But my husband's a libertarian. And the other thing I find interesting is even though I was a staunch Democrat and my husband was pretty much always a libertarian, I find what's weird in this climate today is that people think it's weird that like you can't get married to somebody who has such a different political stance. Can't a Methodist marry a Catholic? Can't a Lutheran marry a Baptist? Absolutely. So why can't a Democrat marry a Republican? Why can't we just respectfully understand that that's your opinion, that's your feeling, and we can still get along? My husband and I have had great conversations about this. It's funny because he's wanted to talk about this longer than I ever have, in our 20 years of marriage. And now just recently I've been the one who's like, let's talk about this. And he's like, wait, like sometimes he wants to not talk about it because I just want to talk about it so much. And it's so funny because when I was on TikTok, probably for a year before he was, and I started to have conversations with him with things that I see on TikTok. And he's like, how did you come up with this? Or where are you getting this information? And I would tell him TikTok. And it started to kind of open his eyes. And he's like, okay, he thought TikTok was also for teenagers and people dancing around. And he started to go on TikTok just to watch the videos because he too enjoyed that it was another form of media, right? You're not just getting one source of media, which is the problem right now. A lot of people are going to one source, but it started to turn. I think TikTok kind of turned into a different direction. And we can talk about how there's bad things about TikTok, right? Obviously, censorship is super high. I just did a video about that yesterday or this last weekend about closed captioning, and we can talk about that another time. But it's been interesting for him and I now as somebody who's really not been political, and he teaches government and history, American history. He used to teach world cultures. He's been teaching for over 20 years at our high school. So it's been interesting with his perspective and my perspective. And now we're able to have some really interesting conversations. And I'll say things like even the Olympics with a whole figure skater that tested positive. I don't watch CNN, Fox. I don't watch any of those things, no matter where you are on the mainstream media spectrum. I don't watch any of that because I want to be able to see things with my own eyes. And that's the other thing that I think is really interesting is so often I'll get on my videos, oh, you're going to trust so-and-so over a professional, like a doctor, a scientist. And I'm like, wait a second. You're telling me you trust somebody that works for the current administration who you don't know, who doesn't know you, and they're talking to you over a screen over what you're seeing with your own very eyes. Like that does not compute with me. Like I don't quite understand that whole even concept, right? That you're going to trust a stranger who doesn't know you, you don't know them, over what you're experiencing in your own life. Yes, 100%. I am going to trust my life, my very own two eyes, and my own life experiences and my family's life experiences over what I see over the internet, on social media, or on mainstream media. Yeah, and you should too. I don't even understand that argument, right? I'm going to trust my own eyes over somebody who could possibly be getting paid to say what's being said. And that's the other thing, right? We can talk about conspiracy theories all you want. One of my videos got taken down on TikTok because I said, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is give or take about 6 months. And I did that video a year ago, and that video got taken down. So yeah, I think obviously, and I'm going to be I'll have YouTube. Obviously, I did have an Instagram, but I got rid of it after watching Social Dilemma but I might be getting it again just to put my stuff that I put on TikTok, because if my TikTok videos get taken down, at least they're on. I have it on Telegram. I have it on Getter. So I have a Rumble account. I haven't done anything on it, but I'm going to try to do a lot of other things. And one of the main reasons is because my original TikTok got taken down after 110,000 followers. And I knew it would be. I knew because I was somebody who wasn't what the mainstream media wants. They didn't want their voice. And a lot of my videos were censored. I knew I was going to get taken down. So now I have over, I don't even know what it's at right now, 35,000. But after it got taken down, I realized, I need to have some other platforms to give my opinion. Some of the things I obviously will back it up with facts. And I need to have another place in case that gets completely shut down. I need to have other outlets to communicate with other people. And what's really frustrating, and I did this on my TikTok, if you want to follow TikTok's Party of Logic, and I'll have the information on here, is that a lot of the people that have been trying to silence me are people on the left and more importantly, people that I know in my community, which I find really interesting as somebody who used to be a Democrat. And I think this should be a nonpartisan thing. I think freedom of speech should not be a Republican thing. Like, I don't even understand how flying the American flag is all of a sudden now a Republican thing, and people call it like white supremacy. How is flying and being proud of the flag that represents the country you live in be a bad thing? Like, I don't, and nobody's made that a bad thing except for the people on the left. I don't understand how, like, I'm not super religious, but how having faith in God is now all of a sudden a Republican thing. This is a nonpartisan thing. There's people who are religious in all parties. Like, I don't understand why it's negative to have faith, freedom, and be proud of be patriotic. Like, that's insane to me. But so I'm going to try to have, I don't like the censorship, and I think that I'm quite shocked by the left and how much censorship they're okay with, because of course they're okay with it, right? Because it's censoring things that they don't want out there. But what happens when they start to censor your stuff? Then it's going to be too late. And I also say, if your truth is true, if it's 100% true, it doesn't mind being questioned. So why are you trying to censor the opposition? Freedom of speech is freedom of even speech you hate. And hate speech is not speech you specifically hate. And that's another problem we can talk about in another video, is if you keep calling things transphobic, homophobic, racist, white supremacist that aren't, you wash out that word. And when there is true racism and true transphobia, then people are like, is it? Because you called everything this, that now when there actually is something that needs attention, people are going to not even listen because you've used that word when it should not have been used. So I think, again, and a whole other topic that we can discuss at some point is how we as Americans, and now I have 3 children, and I don't know about this, I can only speak as an American, I don't know if this is like this all over the world, but we have really dumbed down our kids. We have really taken away their freedoms to be children and to make mistakes. And we have really put them in a box and not allowed them to have their own freedom of thought and be able to express themselves. And it worries me a lot. We've also demasculated men. We've also made kids not be hard workers because we have spoiled them, and there's a lot of entitlement issues going on. So we have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of topics, and I feel free to, in the comment section, write some things that you'd like us to discuss. I'm going to definitely have my husband. He has also a TikTok called View from Teachers Row. And we'll talk about specific things. We'll talk about, a wide variety of things. We'll have guest speakers in our community, and hopefully it'll get larger. People who I honestly want these videos and eventually a podcast to be even people who are not Republican, are not on the right, people on the left. I want to have discussions, because my major thing, honestly, is if we cannot find common ground and not be able to speak to each other face to face, because I think a lot of people say and do things behind closed doors that they wouldn't do if you were in front of the person. If we can't do that, we're going to be, instead of the United States of America, we're going to be the divided states of America. We've got to find common ground. There's too many people that are like, I can't be friends with you. I cannot get along with you. You're the enemy. I'm going to cancel you. I hate you because you have this particular view. No. I don't hate. Hate is a huge word. There are a lot of people that in my community that dislike me, and maybe they say they hate me. And I find it really odd, because a lot of these people I have not talked to in the last couple of years face to face. They have not had these conversations with me. I'm gonna end with this one story, and I did this on my old account on TikTok. So I often do this a lot out in public, and it drives my kids nuts. But I give people compliments that I have no idea who these people are. Like, we were in the Mall of America a month ago, and I would tell somebody, I love your hair, as we're walking by them. And my kids are like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that shirt, or that makes your eyes look really pretty. And so we were at a local establishment, a local restaurant, my husband and I were, and there was this lady at the end of the bar, and I had no idea who she was, because she had this beautiful long gray hair. And I love when women just own their grayness, right? Like, I just love it. And it was also thick and luxurious. I mean, it was beautiful. So as we were walking out, she was at the very end of the bar, I turned and I said to her, my husband had walked into the lobby. I said to her, hey, I know this is coming out of the blue, but I just want to tell you how beautiful your hair is. It's gorgeous, or something like that. And she goes, like, she was disgusted with my comment. I looked at her and I'm like, and she goes, I swear to God, I do remember this. She said, you hate me. And I looked at her and I was like, huh? Like, I have no idea who this lady is. I've never seen her before in my entire life. I don't even know if she's from our town or if she's in visiting. I have no idea. And she says, you hate me. You don't know who I am? And I go, no. And she goes, I'm so-and-so. She said her name. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, it's like, I don't know that name. And she goes, I'm the editor of the Globe Gazette, which is our local newspaper. And I was like, okay. I go, doesn't mean I can't give you a compliment. And she reached her hand out. And she says, nice to meet you. And I said, well, I can't say the same, but you have beautiful hair. And I walked out. Now, backstory a little bit is our local newspaper has tried to destroy my husband and I. They have thrown him under the bus. They have thrown me under the bus. They've said awful, awful things because they're a liberal newspaper. Side note, she got laid off a couple weeks ago. But I think with these newspapers and a lot of these news, CNN has the lowest viewers right now, and so does The View, which I find they should be called A View, not the View. But let's talk about that another time. The fact that they don't realize what they're doing and why they're losing viewership, why they're losing subscribers, like, how do you not see what you're doing? It's because you're not being you're being liberal. You're not just putting out black and white information. Everything you do is an editorial. Everything you do is an opinion. None of it is unbiased. All of it is biased. And that's what people are sick of. They're sick of it. Like, give us the information and let us come up with our own opinion. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. And again, I need to write it on a piece of paper, stuff we can talk about. But it shocked me that obviously she knew who I was because she had like gone on TikTok and watched some of my videos because she did an article about it. I thought it was really funny that she thought that I knew who she was. Even when I didn't know who she was by looking at her. And also when she said her name, I'm like, I don't know who that is. Like, that name means nothing to me. I just found it really funny that here I'm trying to give this lady a compliment and she thinks I've wasted any time thinking about her. Like, no. What's really funny also about those news articles is so many people had come up to me after those news articles and be like, that's BS. I can't believe they did that. That was slander. They totally tried to attack you. And so many people like got rid of their subscriptions because of those articles. I'm like, good job. Good job. And also the newspaper, they hire people to get people to subscribe. They had called my husband, not knowing, this person doesn't know. They're just hired to get subscriptions. Called my husband and asked if they would renew his subscription to the newspaper. My husband's like, that would be a no. And the person asked, I don't know the exact conversation, but basically my husband's like, because they've done articles trying to slander me and say awful things about myself and my family. So, and the guy's like, and my husband made sure, he goes, you're writing this down, right? So you can report to whoever of why we're not subscribing. He's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm good. I'm glad this is at least written down at some point. But so, yeah, I think it's funny that people on the left assume that I don't like them because of what they say or what they do. No, I think that we can still have a conversation. I'm disappointed. And I think that they're so, like, when I went to this one website that this Facebook page, I knew somebody had pointed out to me that they were ripping me apart and saying awful things about me. And I went to the Facebook page and reading all the stuff that was on there, not most of it was not about me. There was just like one or two things about me for the last like 5 months, but it was visceral. The hate was so visceral. It was like, I thought, oh my God, it would suck to be in this mindset, to hate another human being so much. Not just me, just all the stuff they were putting on there. Like, what a miserable headspace that must be to live like that. And the funny thing is, one of these people is a pastor, and her hate is so, I can't even, it's enormous. And I think this is how you want to live your life. You hate these people so much, but you've never had a conversation with them face to face. It's interesting to me. Now, I'm not saying you can't hate somebody and not meet them face to face, but it's just, I'm little old me. I'm in a community. I'm easily accessible. Like, the hate some of the left have for people on the right without knowing them at all and their story. I mean, you're going to judge a person without knowing their story. It's so interesting to me. I'm not saying that there aren't people on the right that are the same way that hate people on the left. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying in my life, in my experience, I've gotten more hate saying that I'm a Republican or I lean right, or that I'm an independent who leans right, or I'm no longer a Democrat. I've gotten more hate from the left than when I was a Democrat and I said that I was a Democrat from the right. Like, my husband took a group of kids to the inauguration for the last 2 years. He couldn't go this last year because of the pandemic, but he I wasn't a Trump fan when he was elected. If you watch some of my videos, I had one video that's got over 1 million views now on TikTok where I said I was sobbing when Trump was elected over Hillary. Like, my husband said he had never seen me like that. I was like, the ugly cry. And then 2 years in, I was like, wait a second, things aren't imploding like I thought they would. Anyway, I did like a minute video on that. And I find it interesting that when I was a Democrat, and people knew I was a Democrat, I mean, it was very clear. My mother's best friend is an Iowa senator that's a Democrat. I got so much hate from people on the left when I said I am no longer a Democrat. Never said I was a Republican, just said I'm no longer a Democrat. I cannot align myself with the Democratic Party anymore with what they're putting out there and what they're doing. I cannot back their actions and their words. I can't do it. I can't say I'm a Democrat and they do stuff like this. But I never got that hate from Republicans when I said I didn't like Trump or I didn't like that I was a Democrat, that I was a registered Democrat. I never got one piece of hate from somebody on the right, but I've gotten so much hate from people on the left, and they don't see it. I don't know how you can see. I always call it like the party of hypocrisy. The one thing that's pissed me off the most has been the inconsistencies and the hypocrisies throughout this entire pandemic. With that, I'm going to end because I was only going to go 20 minutes and I've went 25 and I've gone all over the place. But I wanted to put a first video out there so people can understand the core of who I am. Obviously, I'm more than just a person who's no longer a Democrat, who's independent, who leans right. I'm a lot of other things, and we could discuss that in other videos. But I want to thank you if you've lasted this long. I'm Partyologic on TikTok and on Telegram and Gitter, and I will be doing an Instagram account, probably do something on Rumble at some point, and I also am starting merchandise today, so that's going to be really fun. So thanks for listening, and please write 2 things. We need to name this cow, and then, or is it a bull? It's got horns on it. And then we also need to, I want you to write stuff in the comment section of other things, questions you have, or other topics that we can talk about. I'll try to narrow each video to one topic. It's going to be a little hard, right? Because things can go off little tangents. But anyway, so please do your homework. Name that beautiful thing, and write any questions or obviously add your viewpoints. I love to listen to other people's viewpoints. That's one of the reasons I think I also don't see myself as a Democrat anymore, is because I want to listen. Just because you listen respectfully doesn't mean you agree with a person. I want to hear where people come from, their viewpoints, obviously, because your own life experiences, that's what shape your opinions and your thoughts and your ideas. And I want to hear about those. That's important to me because I learn a lot from that, right? That's how we learn. So anyway, thanks, Partyologic. Thanks for watching.